Madam Okafor? One of them said, I am Inspector Emeka from the Enugu State Police Command. This is Sergeant Bela. Grace did not turn her head. She lay still, her bandaged face tilted towards the ceiling. The inspector spoke gently. Madam, we are sorry for your loss. We need you to tell us everything you remember. Any detail could help us find the people who did this. Grace's lips trembled. They called me. They told me to choose. The room fell silent for a moment. The inspector frowned. To choose? Yes, Grace whispered. They said, I must choose between my husband and my son. If I did not choose, they would kill both. Sergeant Bela muttered under his breath, God forbid. What kind of evil is this? They sent me a video, Grace continued weakly. They showed me my husband and my son tied up. They counted down. I had no choice. I said my son. Her voice broke. I said my son. The inspector nodded slowly. Do you still have the video? Grace swallowed hard. My phone? They took it when they came to the house. Before I blacked out. The inspector's voice grew more serious. So they came inside? Did you see their faces? Grace turned her bandaged face towards him. I cannot see anything now. They said I would never see again. They took my eyes, so I cannot go to the police. Sergeant Bela crossed himself, whispering, Jesus Christ. The inspector sighed. Madam, I understand you are scared, but we must find these people. We will protect you. Grace shook her head. No, you cannot protect me. They said they are watching. If I speak, they will kill my son. I will not risk his life. Madam, please, the inspector started. But Grace raised her voice for the first time. Leave me alone. I said I will not talk to police. Leave me. The inspector looked at Sergeant Bela. They exchanged a glance and left quietly. Alone again, Grace lay in the hospital bed, tears soaking the pillow. She remembered Richard's calm voice on the video call. Grace, save Chuka. He had known what she had to do. He had sacrificed himself. But the guilt crushed her. Richard, forgive me, she whispered. I chose our son. Forgive me. Nurses came and went, checking her bandages, giving her medicine, but Grace barely noticed. She could not stop hearing that gunshot in her head. She could not stop hearing Chuka cry out for her. At night, she dreamed of Richard standing in the rain, smiling, holding Chuka's hand. Then both of them faded into darkness. She woke up screaming, her hands clawing at the bandages, calling their names. On the third night in the hospital, when the ward was quiet and the nurses were busy at the far end, Grace heard footsteps outside her door. The door creaked open softly. Who is there? Grace called, her voice trembling. No answer, just low footsteps approaching her bed. Who is there? She cried louder, pressing herself back against the pillows. A man's voice, the same deep, cold voice from the phone calls, spoke softly. Madam Grace, do not scream. We are only checking on you. Grace's heart stopped. You, what do you want? Where is my son? The man chuckled quietly. Your son is alive. But remember what we told you. If you talk to police, he will not remain alive for long. Grace sobbed. Please let me see him. I will not tell anyone. I just want to hold my boy. Your eyes are gone, Madam Grace, the man said calmly. Even if we brought him to you now, you will never see his face again. Grace broke into loud, helpless tears. "Why are you doing this to us? What did we ever do to you?" The man ignored her question. "Be wise, stay silent. We are watching." The footsteps moved away. The door closed quietly. Grace lay trembling in the darkness, clutching the blanket to her chest. She knew then that the nightmare was far from over. The discharge papers crinkled in Grace's trembling hands. She could not see the paper, but she could feel its weight. A piece of paper that meant she was leaving the hospital, leaving safety, leaving the faint smell of disinfectant and the quiet hum of ceiling fans for a world she could no longer see. "Madam Grace," said Nurse Ifeoma, guiding her gently, "are you sure you are ready to go home? You still need to rest." "I cannot rest," Grace whispered, her voice flat. "My son is out there. I have to find him." The nurse hesitated. "What about the police?" "They can." "No police?" Grace cut her off quickly, fear creeping back into her tone. "They warned me. If I talk to police, they will kill Chuka. I believe them." Nurse Ifeoma sighed and said no more. She led Grace through the hospital corridor, past the nurse's station, past patients who turned to look at the woman with heavy bandages over her eyes. Someone murmured, "Chai. See how wicked this world has become." Another whispered, "That is the woman whose husband was killed by kidnappers." Grace heard everything. Each whisper stabbed her heart. Outside, the evening air was heavy and warm. Kerosene fumes drifted from the road where roadside sellers fried, puff, puff. Somewhere a hawker's voice rose above the noisy traffic, calling out, "Pure water, cold pure water." Lagos never slept, and neither did its pain. A family friend, Sister Niki from their church, stood waiting beside her car. "Grace, oh my dear," Nekchi said, holding her tightly. "God is your strength. Enter the car, let me take you home." Grace nodded silently and allowed herself to be guided into the back seat. As the car moved, she listened to the sounds. She had never noticed before tires splashing through puddles, okadas honking angrily, traders shouting over one another in the market. Without her eyes, every sound was sharper, every smell stronger. The city felt different, strange, dangerous. When they reached her house in Enugu, Sister Nietzsche led Grace inside. Grace reached out her hand, brushing the doorway. It felt familiar yet distant. She could not see the walls, but she could feel the emptiness. Richard's slippers were still by the door. Chuka's school bag lay on the floor where he had dropped it days ago. Grace bent down and picked it up, pressing it to her chest. The smell of her son's crayons and biscuits still clung to the fabric. She began to cry again. "Grace, you need to rest," Sister Niki said softly. "You need food. You have not eaten since morning." "I am not hungry," Grace murmured. "I just want my son." "I will sleep here tonight," Nkechi offered. "I cannot leave you alone." Grace shook her head. "No, go home to your children. I will be fine." "But, Grace," "I said I will be fine." Grace snapped, surprising them both with a sudden sharpness in her voice. Then she softly, "Please, Nexi, thank you, but I must learn to do this myself." Reluctantly, Sister Nisi agreed and left after making sure. Grace had water and some gare beside her bed. "Call me if you need anything," she said. "I will come immediately." Grace listened as the door closed. The house fell silent. too silent. Every creak of the ceiling, every rustle of leaves outside made her jump. Sometime past midnight, Grace lay awake on her bed. She could not sleep. She kept hearing Richard's voice telling her to save their son. She kept hearing the gunshot that ended his life. And she kept hearing Chuka's small voice crying, "Mommy, Mommy." Suddenly she heard it again. Footsteps outside. Slow, careful. Her body froze. The footsteps stopped just outside the front door. Then the doorknob turned slowly. Grace's heart pounded. She wanted to run, but where would she go? She was blind. She could not even find the door. She picked up a nearby object, Richard's shoe, and held it tightly, as if it could protect her. The door creaked open. "Who is there?" Grace whispered, her voice shaking. No answer, just the sound of the door closing behind whoever had entered. "Who is there?" she said louder. A man's voice, low and calm, the same voice from the phone call, answered. "Madam Grace, do not panic. If you scream, we will hurt your son." Grace's knees buckled. She fell to the floor, trembling. "Please, please do not hurt my boy. I have done everything you asked. I have not talked to police. I swear." The man walked closer. Grace could hear the soft tread of his shoes on the tiled floor. "Good," he said. "You are a wise woman. But remember, we are watching you. Always watching. What do you want from me?" Grace whispered. "Nothing? Yet," the man said. "We only came to make sure you understand. Please, let me hear my son's voice. Please, I beg you." Grace's voice cracked as she crawled towards the sound. "I will not tell anyone. I will do anything you say. Just let me hear him." The man chuckled, a sound that sent cold fear through her blood. "All in good time, Madam Grace. For now, rest. And do not forget, if you try to be clever, you will bury your son next to your husband." Grace reached out desperately, but all she touched was air. The man moved silently to the door and left. She heard the lock click behind him. She sat on the floor for a long time, shaking, listening to the silence. Then she whispered into the darkness, "Richard, help me. I do not know what to do." In the following days, Grace learned to move around the house by touch. She counted her steps from the bedroom to the kitchen. She memorized the feel of every wall and chair. But at night, she barely slept. Sometimes she thought she heard the kidnappers outside, watching. Once she even smelled cigarette smoke drifting through the window, but when she shouted, no one answered. Sister Nechi brought food daily and helped her bathe and dress. Neighbors came by to show sympathy, whispering in pity. Grace smiled faintly at them, but inside she felt nothing. Only emptiness, only fear. On the fifth night, Grace's phone rang. Not her own phone, the kidnappers had taken that, but a small basic phone Nikchi had given her. "Hello?" Grace answered with trembling hands. "Mommy." It was Chuka's voice, faint, scared, but alive. "Chuka, oh my baby, are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I am scared, Mommy," he whispered. "They said I should not talk long. They said Daddy is not coming back." Grace's heart broke into pieces. "Do not cry, my love. Mommy is here. I will find you. I promise." A rough voice interrupted. "Enough. Remember what we told you." The line went dead. Grace clutched the phone to her chest, tears streaming down her bandaged face. Her son was alive, but for how long? That night, Grace made a decision. She could not sit in the dark waiting for death. If she could not see, she would learn to fight another way. She would not let these men destroy her family completely. She called Sister Nietzsche early in the morning. "Ketchy, I need your help. I need to move around. I need to learn to do things on my own." "Grace, are you sure?" "You need to rest." "I do not need rest," Grace interrupted firmly. "I need strength. I need to be ready. They will come again, I know it. And next time, I will not be helpless." The dawn call to prayer drifted from a nearby mosque as Grace sat on her bed, clutching Chuka's voice in her memory. The thin mattress sagged under her weight. She had not eaten much in days, but hunger did not matter anymore. What mattered was finding her son. Richard was gone. Her eyes were gone. What else could they take? Her hands shook as she dialed Sister Nekichi. "I need you to take me to the market today," Grace said firmly. "Market? Grace, why?" "You should rest." "What do you need?" "I need a small radio. I need pepper spray. And I need you to get me a strong walking stick. Not for support, for defense." There was silence on the line. "Grace, are you planning something?" Grace took a deep breath. "Yes, I will not sit and wait for them to kill my son. If they come for me again, I will be ready." Later that day, Nakachi guided Grace through the noisy offbeat market. Traders shouted prices. Okada riders cursed at each other. Grace moved with her walking stick, memorizing every step, every sound. She bought a small transistor radio to keep herself company in the long nights. Ketchy bought the pepper spray. At home, Grace practiced moving around in total darkness, counting steps from room to room, using the stick to tap ahead. She listened to every creak in the ceiling, every sound outside her gate. Then, one evening, just as she had feared, the kidnappers returned. It started with the smell of cigarette smoke again, then the soft tap on the window. "Madam Grace," a familiar voice said from outside, calm and cold. "We told you we are watching you. Open the door." Grace's blood ran cold. She forced her voice to stay calm. "Please, please, I have not told anyone. Do not hurt my son. Open the door." Grace moved slowly to the door, her fingers tightening around the walking stick. She opened it. Two masked men entered quickly. "Good. You did not scream," the leader said. "We brought your son to say goodbye. He is leaving the country tonight. If you behave, you will hear his voice. If you misbehave, we will bury him next to your husband." Grace's knees almost gave way. She heard Chuka's frightened breathing. "Mommy?" he whispered. "Chuka." Grace cried, reaching out blindly. But one of the men pulled the boy back. "No touching," the leader said sharply. "Do you remember our rules?" "Yes. No police," Grace said quickly. "Please, let him stay with me. Take me instead." The man laughed cruelly. "You are no use to us. You cannot even see. But you can still talk, and that is dangerous." The second man stepped closer. "We should finish her now. Make it quick." Grace's heart pounded. This was it. Either she acted now, or she would never see her son again. "Please wait," Grace whispered, pretending to tremble. "Let me at least hug him one last time." The leader hesitated. "Fine, make it quick." They pushed Chuka toward her. Grace knelt and opened her arms. The moment she felt her son's small body, she held him tight, then swung her walking stick backward with all her strength, smashing it into the second man's knee. He screamed and fell. Before the leader could react, Grace yanked the pepper spray from her wrapper pocket and sprayed blindly. The man roared in pain as the burning liquid hit his eyes. "Run, Chuka! Run outside now!" Grace screamed, shoving her son toward the door. Chaos erupted. The first man stumbled, blinded, firing his gun wildly. Bullets tore into the wall. The second man cursed, crawling after them. Grace swung her stick again, striking someone's wrist. A gun clattered to the ground. She kicked it away with her bare foot. "Chuka, keep running. Do not stop." Grace cried as she followed the sound of his footsteps out the door. They burst into the street. Neighbors were already awake from the gunshots. Someone shouted, "Thief! Thief!" People began pouring out of nearby houses, but the kidnappers were close behind. One of them grabbed Grace's arm, jerking her back. "You stupid woman," he hissed. "You think you can fight us? Leave her alone." A neighbor shouted. Someone threw a stone. Chaos filled the night air. Grace twisted free and yelled, "Take me. Leave my son." Chuka screamed, "Mommy, no." The leader raised his gun. Grace heard the metallic click as he aimed. She lunged forward, using her body to shield her son just as the shot rang out. Pain exploded in her chest. She fell hard to the ground, but she smiled through the blood because she heard Chuka's voice shouting, "Help us! Help!" and the sound of angry neighbors chasing the gunman. The kidnappers ran as more people swarmed the street. Someone grabbed Chuka. Someone else called the police despite the warnings. Grace lay on the ground, her breathing shallow. She could not see, but she felt her son's small hand holding hers. "Mommy, stay with me. Do not go." Chuka sobbed. Grace whispered, "You are safe now, my love. Daddy will watch over you." Her voice faded as darkness closed in. By the time the police arrived, the kidnappers had fled. Neighbors rushed Grace and Chuka to the hospital. The boy was unharmed. Grace was alive, but barely. The bullet had torn through her chest. Doctors worked frantically, but her pulse weakened. Sister Nechi held Chuka close as the boy cried out for his mother. Grace's last words, soft and broken, were, "Chuka, forgive me for choosing you. I did it because I love you, more than life." Her hand fell limp. The monitor went silent. Weeks later, Chuka stood at his mother's grave beside his father's. "Sister." Nkechi held his hand tightly. The boy's eyes were dry now. He had no more tears left. The police promised to hunt down the kidnappers. But deep down, everyone knew they might never be caught. The wind rustled through the trees as Chuka whispered, "I will make you proud, Mommy, I promise." If you were Grace, standing between your husband and your child with only seconds to choose, what would you do? Would you choose the person who has shared your life, or the child who carries your future? Let us know in the comments. Your answer might surprise you. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that will make you think and feel deeply.